The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. I am joined by Evan, and I am joined by Elisa. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
Let me tell you guys what I've been up to.
Oh.
I'm in this little game with some folks called Pandemic News Bingo.
Oh, no.
And it's a pretty exciting game, and I got my little bingo card right here. And what we have to do is, if the crazy, insane news stories that tend to happen during this pandemic pop up on my bingo card, I win. And so I'm actually one away from winning right now. The free space helped, as it often does when you play bingo. So, like, murder hornets, got that covered. Dad unusually obsessed with getting his daughter to open a can of beans. I got that one right here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm only one space away. But honest to God, I don't think I'm going to make this happen. Like, this one's just too weird. I haven't checked Twitter lately, so I'm not, like, I don't know if this has happened, but I have here cinnamon toast crunch covered shrimp, and Topanga from Boy Meets World is involved for some reason.
And has also since milkshake ducked, by the way. I don't know if you have that on your bingo card.
Is what really?
Yep.
Wait, who
Several
got milkshake
accusations.
duck? Danielle Fishel or
No, the shrimp.
or the
No.
cinnamon, or the shrimp guy?
No, the guy.
The
Card.
shrimp
Yeah,
guy
the
has been
actual
okay.
shrimp.
What happened? I've not heard
got-
this part of the story.
I have not I am not in a space where I have enough information to be able to say this. However, there are several accusations. Apparently this was kind of an open secret, and it is the rare Me Too milkshake duck variant.
No, the worst
that,
of the milkshake ducks.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch
She does.
Yes.
a lot. And I felt really bad because we ordered payway, and I really wanted to get the honey seared shrimp, and this person ruined that
She
for
was
me.
terrified that Cinnamon Toast Crunch was going to fall out of it. It was going to be wild.
Has this ruined Cinnamon Toast Crunch for you?
No.
Because I love this cereal, and I don't know if I can ever have it again now. Even
Oh,
on
come
the
on.
very
Somebody
tiny
found
chance.
a finger in the Wendy's chili, and people still order Wendy's chili. I think you're
that's
going to be
good.
fine.
Yeah,
And I've had 0 Wendy's chilies since that happened.
that's true.
But I think the more important question is, did this Me Too milkshake duck combo mean that, like, we're not allowed to find this story funny anymore? Like, did the funny period of this story last all of what,
Yep.
18 hours?
Yep.
Story's still funny, but there's an asterisk.
You have to
Oh.
set you have to set alerts, because these things, much like things are exponentially improving in terms of data storage, so that eventually we'll be able to transport our consciousness into the size of a small pea. So too is the exponential shortage of time between when something is funny and when something is absolutely horrendous and problematic. That you can. There's never an egg timer when you need one.
show
Almost
get-
instantaneous.
I missed 1 week. The show got so deep. What happened?
Oh,
Look, I
man,
should've
well,
listened to
Evan was
last week's
gone. Good.
episode.
Yeah. It got real. So right in the, because it used to be we went we had a good 36-hour window to
Yeah,
enjoy something
not on this
before
one.
we found out that somebody involved was just a really problematic human being, and now it's just lightning quick. It's just lightning quack. Pun definitely intended.
Milkshake duck doesn't quack.
Number one rule of Break the Business: all of our puns are intended. Let me tell you guys a little bit about the
Quack.
guest we have today.
Quack.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that, by the way. The new Mighty Duck series. I'm all over that.
Is it a series or a movie?
Limited series.
I'm not
Wait.
paying attention, so you could be telling me the truth. I honestly don't know.
So now I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, Mighty Ducks are coming back. But and as exciting as that is, that's not nearly as exciting as the guest we have coming up in the next segment.
Yay!
Joining us on the program after the commercial break will be Ari Hurston, one of my favorite people in indie music. He's a great singer-songwriter, an author, and the creator of the Ari's Take blog, which, if I may say so, is the definitive resource for independent musicians on how to run your career effectively, how to learn the tools of the trade. I can't tell how many times in my own legal practice artists will come to me with questions, and I will just efficiently pawn them off to the Ari's Take blog, because whatever I tell them, Ari has already written a blog article about it that's 100 times better than any explanation I could give.
So he's my
I'm
Ryan.
excited.
He's my you.
Well, no, it's so much better than that though, because he's me, but he's also like really musically talented. You know,
You play the ukulele.
No, he said this guy's musically talented. He didn't say
Oh.
played the. Love you, Ryan. Just kidding.
Yeah.
You're a very decent ukulele
I
player.
tried, man. I tried.
much appreciated. Appreciate you looking out, Alicia. He's really terrific. I'm glad he's going to be coming on. I just love the fact that I'm getting to introduce him to like two of my dear musician friends. I feel like y'all are going to just really hit it off. I feel like I'm just like having my friends hang out now. That's the best part of this podcast.
Aw.
But before we bring in Ari, got some legal news this week.
Oh.
Why did you judge me?
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the
You
revolution.
betrayed the law.
No!
Thank you, Mr. Asante. And it is by far the most interesting kind of legal news, tax legal news.
Ryan's bringing
Stay
the
with
fuego
us.
this week.
I assure you this is very interesting, listeners and viewers, because we're going to save you money. Or at least that's what a bipartisan group of senators and representatives are trying to do when they introduced legislation last week that could be a big help to indie music creators. This is called the Help Independent Tracks Succeed Act, or HITS Act.
Hey.
Which, Whose
Whose job is it to do that? I could do that.
I
in
wanna-
Congress.
So I
That'd be
used to
so
intern in
satisfying.
the Senate, by
Someone
the
make
way,
this
and
an
I can
acronym.
tell you that a big part of our job was sitting in like an office, like eating Chinese food and coming up with stupid acronyms for legislation. There's a whole cottage industry around
The
that.
dream.
I'm going to do my second half of life in politics then.
That's right. So yes, this is the HITS Act, and what it would do is, and this is I think of particular import to you guys since you guys are making an EP right now. It would allow musicians and producers to deduct 100% of their recording expenses, up to $150,000 on their taxes in the year that the expenses were incurred. And now to talk to you guys a little bit about why that's exciting, I think we should take a step back and talk about the way sort of taxes work with when you spend money on things for your music career. So we'll take a quick step back here. So you guys spend a lot of money for everything you guys are doing in your music career. Musical instruments, equipment, studio time, everything. Just the guitar strings, everything that you do for your music career, you can find a way to reduce your tax burden because of their expenses. And I know you guys are all over that. Evan is sort of the master.
No, I'm not
of
the
finding
master. I
every
learned from the
deduction.
master. My accountant retired. If you're a good accountant, call your boy.
Call me.
Yeah. And your accountant, if he was still working, would be the first to tell you that there's two kinds of expenses that business owners, including musicians, have. You have the ones that are deductible right away, which are called, expensed, and then you have the ones that you have to depreciate over a longer period of time. So generally for businesses, to overly simplify it, the expenses that you will, for assets that you purchase that you're going to be able to use for many, many years, you can't deduct the expense all in the year that you buy it. You have to spread out that cost over the useful life of the asset. That's known as depreciation. So when you buy like a big piece of equipment, that equipment might last you 10 years. And so you have to, basically divide the cost over 10 years. For a tax, a lot of the times for tax purposes, that's not as good because you'd like to be able to take a big old deduction right in the first year and greatly reduce your tax liability. Now, the good news is for musicians, you have something called Section 179, and that allows you to deduct a whole bunch of expenses that you otherwise would have to spread out. So, for example, things like big amplifiers or musical instruments that you're going to use for many years. If it weren't for Section 179, you would have to depreciate those expenses. But the tax code allows musicians like you to deduct all of that in the year that you buy it, which is a pretty, yeah?
Do you know what the number is where you're supposed to start depreciating things? Because I got a really expensive guitar that I definitely wrote off in 1 year.
No, but you can, thank goodness, because of
Well,
Section
thank goodness.
179.
Thank you, 179.
So yeah, don't worry, the feds are not coming down your door anytime soon.
That you know of.
But so generally, indie musicians live in this universe where most of the stuff that they buy, they can deduct in the year that they buy it. An exception to this is when you make a sound recording. Most of the expenses that go into making an album, mixing, mastering, what have you, the IRS is generally going to treat that album as a asset that you're going to use for several years, right? Because an album generally has a useful life of more than 1 year, and people will be enjoying that album for hopefully years to come. And so the IRS is going to expect you to amortize, which is another word for depreciate, the expense of that album, usually over 3 to 4 years, which in many cases is not ideal for a musician because you'd like to get that deduction right away. And to give you an example, examples in other industries, this isn't the case for film, television, and theatrical productions. In those cases, the IRS lets those people deduct everything right away in the first year.
So this is just the music industry finally getting caught up.
Yes. And this brings us to the HITS Act, which would say that for your sound recording expenses, up to $150,000, the people who make that album, you can have a deduction right there in the first year that you buy it. And this is pandemic motivated. This is the bipartisan group of legislators that created this bill know that indie musicians, could use every financial advantage they can get. In fact, there's even some who are saying that what Congress really wants to do is encourage musicians to make more music, that they're understanding that, the world needs more art right now. So let's provide a tax benefit for musicians to make more great music right now and be able to realize the benefits of it. It's sort of like a modern day Works Progress Administration, like when FDR was like giving people grants during the New Deal to make, Broadway musicals and stuff. Kind of like that, but far less interesting because it involves the tax code.
Yeah, and less, significantly less cute and useful than just $2,000 a month in survival checks until we're cute.
Also,
like,
kind of
what the hell,
far
man?
less realized because the majority of musicians don't make any money off their music, especially in the first 5 years. I mean, I don't know, man. A tax break is nice, but I would have gone with $2,000 checks.
Yeah. I mean, cute. Yeah.
Well, and that's probably why, by the way, a legislation like this is getting support from both sides of the aisle, right?
Because it doesn't cost us.
Because it doesn't cost as much as if like they gave musicians what they really need, which is some friggin' financial support. And in terms of the history of this, like this isn't the first time, even during recent memory, that they've tried to get this bill to pass. In fact, a version of the HITS Act was at one point in each of the 2 last COVID relief packages. So the one that was that came in at the tail end of the Trump administration, that was all where the Save Our Stages Act got passed and a bunch of other stuff came in for musicians. It was in there and then it got taken out. And it was in this most recent stimulus bill that the Biden administration passed, and it found its way out of the legislation before it passed because laws and sausages, as they say. But they're hoping that the third time's the charm, and certainly the support of the indie music community can help make that happen. I think this is one of these call your congressman moments, especially because I know a lot of artists are thinking of making music right now. They want to make their albums in 2020 because the live performance opportunities are fewer and further between. So now's a good time to make some music. Why not get a nice tax benefit for it?
Okay. Small wins. I'll take the small wins.
We'll take them. So we'll keep the news up about that, and I encourage people to check out the Future of Music Coalition. They do some great writing about this stuff, and can give you more information about it. Elisa,
Oh no,
you have been all over the place lately, talking to us in the pre-show about how excited you are about the Paramount Plus lineup.
said
because it's
no one
giving you-
ever, right?
Yeah, I know. Like, I was shocked to hear that like the 9th most interesting streaming service that I've heard of, and you are just losing your mind about it because apparently it's giving you all the nostalgia feels.
So here's my thing. We are in a situation where we're sometimes late to the party in terms of kind of jumping onto trends. Like it took us a hot second to cut the cord in the first place. Like I was still like, I need my cable. I need my Weather Channel local on the 8s. You know what I mean? But like I was, we were hesitant to do a lot of the cord cutting stuff, and like streaming services, Hulu, Netflix, Peacock, like nobody has everything, and everything is always missing like the one thing that you actually want, and
Yes.
it's always like 7 whatever. So now we've kind of graduated into the like, hey, WandaVision, I'm gonna pay $7 this month for Disney Plus, and then once that's over, I'm gonna take my $7 and move it elsewhere the following
that's
month.
Smart.
So I've been kind of doing that to kind of help follow along with a lot of pop culture trends, and so I watched WandaVision, loved it. And trying to do that, and then Paramount Plus never factored into my situation because I'm like, CBS, Viacom, I'm not necessarily trying to watch back episodes of The Big Bang Theory. That just ain't me. And Star Trek, cute. We had a TNG moment, back in the day. Cute. Don't necessarily need to revisit it. The commercials were great. However, this tweet thread got me 5 hours ago from Paramount Plus that was basically saying, it might be time to revisit some childhood friends. Check out all the classic 90s Nickelodeon shows that are now streaming on Paramount Plus. Sir, can I just give you a rundown real quick?
Oh, please do. Because it sounds like they got all of us.
I want to print this collage that they made and like paste it on the front of my composition notebook. Like they actually have this really pretty collage of all of the stuff that they have. The first one that they posted was Hey Dude, which just right out the gate.
Whoa. They're starting
Heaters.
strong. Bringing it.
Absolute heaters. So Hey Dude, followed by the thing that is going to basically take over our lives in the near future, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
There's only like 2 seasons of that though.
Take over our entire lives.
Yeah, but isn't that all the Nickelodeon shows though? Like all the shows we watched in our childhood, we watched the same 18 episodes for 11 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same 18 episodes of say Salute Your Shorts.
Oh.
You can't do that on television?
Oh.
Clarissa Explains It All. Actual Kablam. All
I
that.
love that. Whoa. Like the original all that.
All real monsters. Rugrats.
Ickus, Crumb, and Oblina.
And
Wow.
and Blast
went
from the Past, not to be outdone. Oh, and by the way, we were talking about this before the show. The cultural and personal and amazing impact that the only Gullah Gullah Island had for an entire group of people.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And also a friend of the pod, friend of the protopod, Mara Quirk, Guts. Guts is going to make an appearance as part of the Paramount TV lineup. And like all of these things, we are doing the thing where we have 2 TVs and we have 2 Xboxes side by side. We play video games together. And then on some sort of third monitor, we try to figure out what to watch while we play. And we've been going through a whole bunch of stuff. We went through Great Pottery Throwdown. We went through glass blowing competitions, all the British bake-offs. We're caught up on Drag Race. So it's like we need more kind of comfort shows to sort of put on in the background. We went through all the supermarket sweeps. And so like Shark Tank was a big one.
Yes.
And so now it's like, so you're telling me that I get to just put on like Eureka's Castle just in the background, just like chilling.
Nick
Okay, cool.
Jr. representing as well, apparently.
Celebrity Deathmatch. I'm done.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's the thing. Once I got sucked in by the Nickelodeon rabbit hole, then I realized that, Viacom also owns MTV and VH1, which means that because of the subject matter of this podcast, behind the music back episodes, VH1 storytellers, The Diary, you think you know, but you have no idea. This is The Diary, a fill in the blank. Like all of these amazing shows that were great chronicles of music history and like early taps into the lives of musicians. Like we get to watch those again, and that's really, really cool.
The
I don't
world
know.
needs
I'm
to
a fan.
appreciate how good behind the music was.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of like the deep dive they would do into the careers of these artists, like it was like college thesis level good. And I feel like for you and me and Evan, that show basically gave us like a knowledge of music pop culture like 30 years before we were born that we would have had no business having. Like we know way more about Leif Garrett than we have any business knowing, and it's because of Behind the Music.
And Kiki, don't burn the house down.
Kiki Tumper.
It's like this is well, mine went dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 and then the other one goes dun 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 dun. It's that little itty bitty change.
It's a little bitty
It's that little itty bitty change. I'm just
Oh my
saying, it's just
magical.
potent quotables everywhere. It's so good.
Okay, so this is changing the whole math for me because I saw the Paramount Plus ads and the Super Bowl ads, and it was Patrick Stewart was on a mountain. It was adorable.
Everybody's on a mountain.
It's not that
cute.
adorable.
It's fine.
For the most part, I was just like,
Somebody give Patrick Stewart a sweater. It's snowy outside. Come on.
we
you.
need to protect Patrick Stewart.
He's all we have left.
At all costs.
But I was thinking to myself, okay, I can skip this streaming service. I have enough of them. There's plenty of content. There's nothing there that I'm just, oh my God, I need to have it. Look, I mean, I love Frasier as much as like the next.
Frasier is on
dude,
there.
But
Frasier is on there. But so is Wings.
Oh,
See, is the thing.
oh, now I'm back in.
you got me.
Also,
But
like
but I was
Ryan,
willing to skip it. But now everything that you're telling me is here. I don't know if I can skip it.
Ryan, Caroline in the City, my guy.
Wow,
Dude.
wow.
Y'all used to watch way too much television.
Caroline in the City.
That's all we had.
Let's go right into like Veronica's closets
Oh.
and Sybil. Oh,
Just played guitar all day. I don't know what you guys are doing. That's what everybody else is doing.
I was
when
watching
playing
this.
Guitar. They're
I was
watching
watching.
Clarissa
I was
Explains It
watching this and telenovelas. That's like literally it, and Sailor Moon, basically.
and Sailor
That's-
Moon. There you go.
it's just done. Just maybe a sprinkle of Power Rangers, and then a movie that I was way too young to watch, like all the time, basically.
Before we go to break, can we circle back to what I think is probably one of the most delightful dynamics of your marriage, Evan and Elisa?
Oh, that's a scary.
Oh no!
Which it like
Curious to see what the outside view is on this.
Oh boy!
Well, I recommend this to all the married couples. The 2-screen, 2 gaming system setup. Discuss.
Oh, just straight up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was a recent Polygon article about somebody who went 3 wide.
See, okay, man, I'm on the internet.
Go,
and I
babe.
took this picture for. Elisa wrote an article for Polygon,
I did.
a video game website, and it was about bringing your marriage together, and maybe the key to happiness is Borderlands. I think that was one of the quotes.
Yes.
Because we bought 2 TVs, these actual TVs, they're very
Yeah.
old now, to play Borderlands side by side, and like, I am in an article like very early in my life, not my life, but still one of the first people I know to show 2 TVs and 2 consoles and the whole setup. And then we've been doing this 3rd screen thing for a while. My dad made fun of me at first, right, for having 2 TVs. We've been doing this 3rd screen thing for a while. And the plan is to get 3 way nicer TVs and mount 3 TVs here. And now there's somebody else beat me to the punch and having a really nice Polygon piece showing their 3 TV setup. So I'm a little bitter. That's all I'm saying. It's just a little bitter.
So wait, somebody just rewrote your Polygon
No.
article and was just like,
No,
here's
no.
a 3rd TV.
No, they basically did the
They did the
one-
thing we've been doing. We just haven't been afforded to be able to do it.
Exactly, because I've just been doing it on my laptop. But this is like, oh, we've done 3 TVs and it's been great. It's great, especially during football season.
Mm.
It is my everything because I get to have Red Zone on one TV and then play video games on the other TV, and it's fantastic. It's awesome. But it's like we can play 2 separate games. We can do co-op on the same game, and co-op games are great, but a lot of them don't feature split screen. And even if they do feature split screen co-op, it's the UI
That's
is not gonna look super great and be the most optimal experience. So we're like, hey, we don't want to be playing just 2 separate games in like 2 separate corners of the apartment. That's not quality time together. But playing video games together on the couch is, while watching Shark Tank.
It is really interesting to whenever you're looking at a new apartment and they're showing you the place, you're like, okay, well, your TV goes here. And I'm like, well,
Like,
actually,
no,
I have
no,
2 TVs. I'm like, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm not going to explain it to you.
No, I'm not gonna.
It's not my job. I just need
Yeah.
a big wall right there.
whenever someone, like maintenance wise comes, and this is obviously something that I have to deal with as, by virtue of being who I am and trying to crush stereotypes where I can. Everybody assumes, that this setup, is all him or something. And I'm like, no.
Oh, it's so he can watch football with his hungry guys.
I'm like, this is very lucky. This is very, yeah, he is. we are both incredibly lucky, actually. And we are both equally lucky.
On the same note, you want to talk about giving advice to married people? Get 2 comforters in your king
Oh my
size bed.
God, yes.
Everybody gets their own comforter.
King
Nobody
size
fights about
bed,
anything.
separate comforters.
2 king size comforters.
Oh my God.
Ryan, I actually said that during my toast at your wedding that you should do that, and I don't think you have.
No, we do. We like not separate comforters because we just have the one comforter, but we each have our own blanket. Because I'm a bit of a kicker, and
I've always known that about you.
I will send a blanket clear across a room. It's like that scene in what's the one, Poltergeist, where the blanket flies away. That's my room, except I'm not wearing the football jersey. But
I steal. I hoard.
Oh, you're a hoarder. So we all have our different blanket techniques.
Yeah.
So yeah, if she didn't have her own blanket, she'd be frozen by the end of the night.
Get 2 comforters. You'll be happy.
Yeah, 2 comforters. And
Oh my
different weights. That means you could do different weights. Like I need a heavier comforter. You don't like a weighted blanket situation, you could do whatever, whatever
I'm
sort
just
of
saying.
situation you got.
We're still married.
No.
It's got to work.
So that's the secret is
Something stuck.
playing separate video games in the same room.
Yes.
Or the same game.
Or the same game.
Or the same game. And separate comforters.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it
Yeah,
is.
sometimes we determine the rich fiction that if I'm playing No Man's Sky and he's playing a different game, that somehow we're part of the same cinematic universe and we sort of make it work in our heads.
Or marry somebody with rich parents. That works too. But that didn't work for me.
No. Didn't work for me either.
Oh my goodness. Oh, good stuff. All right, everybody. Ari Hurston coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. Keep listening / watching Break the Business. Ryan Kairalla here. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of it. I do what I do because I care about creators like you. A lot. I've dedicated my career to helping creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and organizations move forward. I do it by hosting this program, and I'm also proud to do it in my legal practice. If you're a creative professional looking for solutions-oriented legal services to help you further your goals, I'd love to help. My firm RKPA does contracts, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Visit rkpalaw.com to learn more. That's rkpalaw.com. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back, everybody. Our guest is an LA-based indie artist and author and blogger. His latest album, Like Home, is coming out April 9th. So excited for us to be talking with Ari Hurston. Hey, Ari!
What's up? Hello, hello. Nice to be here.
It is great to have you here, my man. I was just telling everybody before you popped into the green room, how basically you've made my legal practice 1,000 times easier. Because when artists come to me with industry questions, I have two choices. I can either explain it to them, in like a C+ fashion, or I can say, go to aristake.com. He's written about this, and it's a perfect explanation, and I know they're going to get good advice from you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And I'm curious about something. Because before you were sort of like the official advice giver in the indie music business, like you started out and still currently are a really terrific singer-songwriter. What sort of drove you into being like the advice giver role?
Totally. Yeah, did not set out to do that necessarily initially. I started my music career in Minneapolis in the Twin Cities. I went to college, well, initially for music education to be a high school band director someday. Realized very quickly I didn't want to do that. Transferred to a music industry school, studied music business, songwriting. Now, this was around 2005. Just to put it in perspective, what was going on at this time, we have, Napster had just died. iTunes was just getting started. This was Facebook was confined just to universities. MySpace was pretty hot. It was up and coming right then. Pre-YouTube. So this was like the death of the old music business was starting to end. The new music business was starting. But what I was learning in college and what we learned from all the books that were written by lawyers out there, no offense to lawyers, Ryan, was like how the industry used to work. And so I got amazing history, but they were like, oh, if you want to have a music career, this is what you got to do. You got to get signed to a label. You got to get a manager. You got to have a booking agent. You have a publisher. So I was like, okay.
Press kit.
Oh yeah, that physical press kit. You mail that. Oh, you remember those things? Those 8x10?
Oh no.
8x10 photo. Oh yeah, we I think I probably still have like 50 of those press kits somewhere.
My favorite one from those books, Ari, that always makes me laugh is getting the entertainment lawyer to shop your deal.
Oh yeah.
As if like I'm the guy that's going to get you the deal with Universal.
Seriously. Oh yeah.
We fell for that once.
Yeah, we fell for that once and never
my
again.
gosh.
Twice.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely twice. Oh.
That was definitely in there. And so, when I finished school, I was just like, all right, I want to start my music career, so I need a record deal. And I'm like waiting around for this record deal because, mind you, they didn't teach me in school or in the books or anything like how to actually get a record deal other than like maybe hiring an attorney, which I didn't know any attorneys at the time. So I was just like sitting around waiting for this record deal to come. It never came. And I was like, well, I guess I could just keep sitting around waiting because I was taught I can only have a music career with a record deal, or I can just do what I love to do, which is perform. So I chose the latter and I started just performing and kind of figuring everything out the hard way. Fast forward years later, still without a record deal, without a manager, without a booking agent, I was selling out venues all over the Midwest. I was getting songs placed on TV shows. I was charting on iTunes and all this totally DIY independent. And so I was getting a lot of questions from musicians about how I was doing this stuff. And word spread, like, if you have questions about the music business, go ask Ari, because I would get back to everybody. So my inbox was just flooded with musicians from all over the country. Just like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And eventually, like, I couldn't keep up with all of that. So I just put everything I was learning and knew and all the most frequently asked questions I got onto a blog. I started Ari's Take. My brother's a web developer. We just like put this blog up. And honestly, it was just so I could point people there. So I would get these questions like, I already answered that. You can go read about it here.
Leave me alone. Here's a link.
I mean, basically, I just like didn't have time anymore. I was running my music career. And Ari's Take like took off. It just like started to get passed around because like there really wasn't anything like that at the time. The only advice columns written for musicians were written by companies looking to gain them as customers. And I wasn't looking to gain anything, honestly. Like there were no ads on it. I wasn't charging anything. It wasn't a business model. It was honestly like, I want to support the music community. And I believe that a rising tide lifts all ships. I don't believe in competition in the music industry. And I just want talented, hardworking, passionate musicians to succeed. And if I felt like they had knowledge, they would at least have a few more steps forward on that path in that direction. So that kind of started it all and just kind of took off from there.
And that eventually led to the opportunity for you to write a really terrific book, How to Make It in the New Music Business, which is a book that I'm really jealous of because it's like it's sort of the book I wrote, but so much better, and it comes from a musician's perspective. And so that, like, I'll usually shamelessly like direct people to your book instead of my book, because I want to make sure they get like the best possible insight, because it's really, really
Sure.
good.
I appreciate
One of the
that.
things about your work, Ari, that really impressed me and got you in the news a lot in the last couple years was your work on the AB5 gig worker law in California. And so this was something I was following very closely. This was to catch everybody up. AB5 was a labor law passed by the California legislature that was designed basically to help people like Uber drivers and folks in these kind of gig worker fields. They wanted these people to be classified as employees so they would be treated better. And one of the things that the music industry started to identify basically while this law was getting passed and then after it got passed was the way that the bill was written, while it had good intentions, had some unintended negative consequences for the creative industries, for the music industries in California. And you were on the forefront of working with the legislators to make amendments to that law after it was passed to create just a better working conditions and a better music industry for creatives. Can you tell the listeners a bit about that experience?
Sure. Yeah, that honestly, this was one of the craziest experiences of my life. Right, like you said, I mean, after the governor already signed this bill into law, was when I heard about it. And when like no one in the music industry had really heard about AB5, or if we heard about it, we thought, just like you said, it's for Uber drivers. That's it. And we didn't have to worry about it. But then I went to this teach-in at a musician friend's house, and then their attorney was there. And basically he had this big board, and he was like, he was explaining the law point by point and how it affected musicians. By the end of this teach-in, there was like 20 musicians in the room. We were freaking out. We're telling like, wait a minute, I have to do that. So like, I couldn't believe that this was going into effect in just a few months, and like it was going to completely destroy the California music economy. This is not hyperbolic. Like literally the entire way that we operate our businesses was going to have to change, or we were going to be breaking the law come January 1st. And I'll give you a few examples.
Give us some ideas. Yeah.
So what I learned, basically what this law said was, me as a singer-songwriter, if I play a gig at the Hotel Cafe, 100 people show up, and I want to hire a band. I want to hire a drummer for $150. I want to hire a keyboard player, $150. This law says that I have to put that drummer on payroll, meaning I have to get a payroll company. I have to issue them a W-2. It can't just be a 1099. I actually have to withhold taxes. I have to set up a payroll company. I have to withhold taxes. I have to treat them as an employee. Deals with labor laws. It deals with all this stuff. I have to incorporate myself if I'm not already incorporated, and all of this red tape for one gig, literally one gig. Now, mind you, think of every musician out there and how many people you might hire throughout the year. I was calculating, like probably like 50 people, maybe. Like I play gigs, I go into the studio, I hire an engineer, a producer here, $200 here, $500 there, $1,000 there. This is just how we work. And if I had to literally put 50 people on payroll and incorporate, it was going to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of additional dollars that every musician would have to incur all these additional expenses just to operate like we normally operate. So I wrote a blog post about this. I'm like, yo, listen up. We're like, this is what's happening. And the blog post went crazy viral. It's like, I basically just broke it down like, yo, this is how it's going to affect the music industry. And people were like, wait, really? Like, I haven't heard about this. So everyone shared it. It got me meetings then, because then we started a petition. Well, I didn't start it. A friend started it. But I got a meeting with the assemblywoman who wrote the bill, because like people started blowing her up on Twitter. And like, how could you do this to the music community? What are you doing? And she's like, I don't know how musicians work. What? And so I'm like, hey, can I have a meeting so we can explain it to you? So I gathered 10 musicians and one of them who had started this petition, and we like drove down to San Diego to her office. And we sat in her office. We're like, hey, this is how our business works. Like, clear. And she listened to us, and it's like, oh, okay, well, why didn't you work with the recording industry and the unions when they were negotiating this before the bill was signed? I'm like, well, because we never heard about it, and this was done without our knowledge. So, like, sorry. She's like, well, they couldn't come to an agreement, and we just had to get this passed. I'm like, well, they clearly weren't on our side because, you know, we didn't hear about them. So, you know, we started meeting with all these legislators. I met with the Senate Majority Leader, started writing about the process, and finally we got in the room. So we created this like ad hoc impromptu organization. We called it Independent Music Professionals United. And, you know, the petition swelled to 185,000 signatures, which got us into a lot more rooms.
Wow.
And legislators. And fast forward, and mind you, like, I'm in the rooms. I was like part of the lead negotiators sitting across the table, fighting with the musicians union who like this. And if you don't know, there's actually musicians union, and you probably never heard of them because like they only really represent people who play on like film scores or record on major label records or something like that. They don't really represent the independent music community. But they love this law because they're like, if everybody gets on payroll, if everybody becomes an employee, everyone will join the union. It's like, but that you do nothing for us, union. Like, you literally don't do anything for us that helps us. So like, why would we do that? And so we were fighting with them and every other union. And it got to a point where, you know, we're negotiating with them. I'm on the phone call. It was nuts. I'm tweeting with the assemblywoman, battling with her at 2 a.m. on Twitter because like she posted an explanation of our negotiation. She's like, oh, this is what's going to be in the final bill. And like, I had to go off on her. I'm just like, no, it's not. I was in the room today and we didn't agree to that. I don't know what they're telling you behind our back, but that, you know, it was just this crazy back and forth political thing. And like, I got a very close-up look at how politics works and how laws work. And mind you, I had a hand in writing the words in this law. Like, they would send me a draft. I would look it over and I'd be redlining this shit. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legislator. I don't know, but I can read English. So I was like, well, this doesn't sound right. I mean, this seems like, no, I mean, we need to have the gigs here and we do recordings like this. So we should say something like this. And, you know, granted, I was working with very talented attorneys as well. Jordan Bromley was on the front lines. But like, in the end, we got this thing passed. We got the amendment to AB 5 with a full music clause in there that we wrote together. But like, you know, Jordan Bromley, he was awesome during this process. However, he was the attorney for the RIAA, the organization that represents the major labels. They hired him initially back way before the initial bill, AB 5 got signed to negotiate on their behalf. And they banded together with, you know, the RIAA, the A2IM, the organization represents the independent labels, and then this new organization called Music Action Committee, I believe, MAC, started by like Irving Azoff and all these powerful managers. So we're telling you, like, we're talking the heavyweights of the music industry. We're trying to get this thing done before it was initially passed. They failed. They did not come to an agreement. It took a bunch of scrappy independent musicians screaming on Twitter with waving our petition around and like writing blog posts and going on all the news sites and getting interviews to get this thing done. And fortunately, we got it done, but it was nuts. Like, it was literally down to the wire where I'm on the phone with the president of the AFM, the union, musicians union in California, like 11th hour, this needs to go in. And I'm like, we need this in there. He's like, no, that's a deal breaker for us. I'm sorry, we can't give that. It's like, okay, well then we need this going on in there, on and on and on. And it was like, it was so crazy and stressful. And I'm like, you know what? no thank you to politics. Like, no thank you to any of this. Like, that's not something I'm interested in, really.
In your wildest dreams, when you were a young boy playing guitar and like
Right.
looking at like posters of, whatever your favorite artist was on the wall saying like, that's what I'm going to be someday. Did you ever envision that you would be, in a California legislator's office playing political chess matches to help pass employment law?
Oh my gosh. No, never. It was really crazy because like the biggest takeaway, the biggest thing that I learned through this process, because we're sitting in the Senate Majority Leader's office, Senate Majority Leader of California, Bob Hertzberg, we're sitting in his office, 10 of us musicians. We're pleading our case. He's joking with us and he's like, oh yeah, totally get it. Like this law doesn't work for you at all. Like, we know. He's like, yeah, really, man, this sucks for you. Wow, this really doesn't work for your business model. Like, yeah, we know. Can you please help change it? He's like, no. Like, well, why not? It's like, because there's no pressure to change it. I'm sorry. Like, none of us are going to do anything unless there's pressure. Like, what do you mean?
And there's no lobbying or interest group representing your side of the industry. That
No.
can push
And
these
so
people.
we're like, he's like, honestly, the only thing that's going to get anything done is if you can get an article in these newspapers and this journal on this TV show on this. And I'm like, So we did. And so we went to all those publications, to the newspapers. And like, I literally drove down to San Diego to go on the local news station 3 times to blast the Assemblywoman on her home turf. And literally like 20 minutes after it aired, every time she's fire tweeting me, just like, how dare you? You are misrepresenting. I'm like, yo, let's get this done and I'll stop. I'm like, like, I don't want to be doing this. You think I want to drive down to San Diego to appear on this thing and talk about how we're totally screwed right now because of what you did? No, let's just change it and I'll stop. I'll stop being a pain in your ass. But so, it was quite a crazy experience, and I'm happy it's over. And I'm even happier that we got it done.
So somewhere in between the blogging and the legislative advocacy, how did you find time to work on a new album? How did you like section these? Because what you're describing to me sounds like 5 full-time jobs, and somehow you're still making music.
Yeah, I don't know. I do have like 5 full-time jobs, and it's crazy. I mean, I made my new album during quarantine, which was an even crazier thing because the only way I've ever recorded music in the past has been live, like in the studio with other musicians around me. Like I'm an organic singer-songwriter, more or less a purist. I create stuff with other musicians in the room. So this was weird. I carved out time. A big thing that I did kind of for the last couple of years, and I started this process, was I carved out one day a week where it was my creative day. So when I was writing, I carved out Tuesdays, and Tuesdays was my creative day, was my writing day. So like throughout all of 2019 and into 2020, every Tuesday was writing day. And I needed to write. I was going through a breakup. I mean, this breakup started in 2019 after an 11-year relationship. So I'm like, I'm totally fucked right now. So I need to process this. And the only way to process that I know how is through songwriting. So I'm like, I need this for me. Like, this clearly doesn't necessarily, work with the business model of the other stuff I'm doing, but I don't care. Like, I need this for me. I never had any intentions necessarily of turning this into an album. But after the year and a half of writing, I had 40, 50 songs that I had written. And I'm like, you know what? There's a narrative here. There's a story. I think there's something here. And I linked up with my producer, Justin Glasgow, showed him some of the demos, the songs. He's like, yeah, let's do this. And then pandemic hit. So we're like, well, how are we going to do this now? Let's try. So we used Zoom. We used Audio Movers, which is this recording plugin technology where you can listen to a session in real time. So he's literally in his studio playing drums, and I'm hearing the entire session in real time. And I'm like, go to the ride. And he'll like, oh yeah, and he'll like go to the ride. And like, I'm like, this is so cool. It's like, I'm right there. It's like I was in the control room. So it worked. I did all my guitars here. He did the drums and and all of his magical stuff with the keys and the synths. And there we had our bassist. We were able to go to a bassist in Nashville. We had some string players here, and everybody recorded their parts on their own. We zoomed in. And so this record is, it's cool. It sounds like nothing else I've done before because of the just nature of how we made it. But I'm, super happy that it came out the way it did.
Well, Evan and Elisa are all about this life as well. They're actually currently making an EP in the same sort of pandemic conditions. All of their band members are all making their respective parts from their respective residences and everything.
The
and
drummers in
everything's kinda being put
Miami and the
together.
keyboard players in Akron and the other guitar players in Chicago. Yeah, it's basically like, here's the scratch track, send to the drummer and send it back. Okay, cool, but do it again like this.
So do you do that? Do you just have them do it their part on their own, send it to you, you listen, send notes back and forth? You're not there in real time, right?
Kind of lucky on 3 of the 4 of the songs he's actually played before.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they're not. It's
that's
not fresh
nice.
material for him.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, everything else is just like a spoken guide track on top of, and then and then dagadoo.
If you've ever played a really high end church gig, and you hear that in the chorus 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
We
Cool.
made sure to have our Google Flies and our dagadoos all lined up
Dagadoo.
ahead of time. Yeah.
Nice,
man.
nice. Cool.
Is there a particular, so you mentioned one piece of software. Is there another particular piece of software or hardware that's been really valuable that you'd recommend to the listeners and viewers out there to help them make great music in a collaborative fashion in these quarantine conditions?
For me, I mean, Audio Movers honestly was the what got us through this. That is a plugin for most DAWs. We're using both Logic and Pro Tools. I'm on Logic and he works out of Pro Tools. So Audio Movers works great for that. That's honestly what I found is the best collaborative tool right now if you want to record in real time with your collaborators. I know that there are I know that there are. I'm just seeing this question pop up, and that's cool. I'll get to that. It's just like, ooh, fancy Twitch magic right now. But yeah, I mean that's honestly for collaboration at this point. That's the one I would recommend.
Oh, awesome.
That's huge.
So last question before we'll let you go. And I do want to direct everybody to check out Ari's new album when it comes out on April 9th, Like Home, to check out arihurston.com, aristake.com to get the best information in the music industry. Check out How to Make It in the New Music Business, just the Bible for like the new music industry right now. He's never going to tell you to like get a press kit with 8x10 photos. This is the new good advice. That's really terrific. Before we let you go, one last question. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward? And if you want to opine on effective email signature blocks as the question.
Yeah, Metal
asks, you
Dave is
do that
asking
too.
right now. Metal Dave 85. I'll answer that real quick. All right, have you found success in your career based on your email signature block? So we've clearly emailed in the past, and I have a little signature at the bottom. One nice thing about your email signatures is yes, it can be informative, but it also can be just a way to brag a little bit without having to seem boastful and without, so like I put some stuff in there that's just like, for instance, with my book, I'll say it's a tiny thing. So it's like Ari Hurston, Los Angeles and Ari's Take, and that's going to COR's Take. And then below it, it says like, quote, indispensable, parentheses, Forbes, 2nd edition, How to Make It in the New Music Business. And like, I linked to that. So it's like, oh, he's got a book and Forbes reviewed it. Cool. So I don't have to like, whenever I'm emailing somebody, be like, hey, so Forbes says I'm awesome. You should like check out my stuff because Forbes, like, no, that's annoying. And no one wants to talk themselves up like that. So I kind of encourage, and right now I have in the email signature, listen to my new song, birthday, and that kind of stuff. And you can put some accolades down there. I've found in the past can work nice. And I track everything. I use MailTrack, which is an email tracking service. I encourage everybody to use that. It sees when somebody opens your email, what they click on to see if your links are effective, all that stuff. So yeah, but to answer your question, Ryan, final tips, tricks, the biggest takeaway for indie musicians. Honestly, the number one piece of advice I can give to everyone, no matter where you are in your career, whether you're just getting started or you're 20 years down the road or more, is to create concrete, tangible goals. Now we're talking 6-month, 1 year, 3-year, 5-year goals. And these are not like, oh, I want to make money with music, or oh, I want to be a successful musician. No, it's like concrete stuff. Like, I want to get a song on a TV show. Like, concrete. I want to get 1 million streams. Concrete. I want to play 30 shows this year. Something that is time bound, very important. You set a time. 1 year, it's going to be 6 months, 3 years, and then very, very, very specific. Because then once you know what you're aiming for, then you can start working towards that. You can reverse engineer that goal and figure out how to achieve it. Like, the thing is that where everybody falls, where everybody kind of stumbles these days, is because we have so much opportunity right now. There are so many ways to create a music career. It's a blessing and a curse. 20 years ago, there was really kind of one way to make a music career happen in the music industry. You get signed, you go on tour, yada, yada, yada. We all know about that. Now, there are 100 ways to make a music career happen, for better or worse. So it's like, oh, I know people. I had speaking of Twitch, I had the head of music at Twitch on my podcast, the New Music Business Podcast, and he revealed this startling statistic that the musicians who are making over $50,000 on Twitch are doing so from just 183 fans. 183, no 1,000, no million,
Wow.
Literally 183 fans. They're making $50,000. So it's like, okay, if I want to be successful at Twitch and I want to try that, you can't just go live on Twitch once and think like, oh, I'm going to make boatloads of money today because I went live on Twitch once. No, you're going to have to go live probably 30 times before you actually get into a groove and figure it out. And you're going to have to study it and get the tech together and all of this stuff. And so it's like, but Twitch is one of the 100 ways that you can pursue if you'd like. And so it's kind of set that goal. And the most important thing about setting the goals is to follow your interests and your strengths. So, I remember back in the YouTube era, the mid 2000s, and a lot of my friends were crushing it on YouTube. And everybody's like, you got to get on YouTube. You got to do the YouTube thing. So I'm just like, okay, let's see. Everyone tells me I have to do the YouTube thing because that's the way. And so like I collaborated with some of my YouTuber friends. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what you do. So I spent a week with one of them on create, because they pumped out weekly videos. And I like saw what it took. I'm like, oh my gosh, you record the song this day, you put it together this day, you record the video, you do this, da, 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 da. And it was like a full-time job for them. And I realized after that week, actually the few weeks that I did a few of them, that I hated it. I'm like, I don't want to do the YouTube. If this is what the YouTube thing is, and this is what it takes to do the YouTube thing, I will quit music. Like, I don't want to do this. So like, you don't have to do anything that somebody else tells you. Everyone that, is saying, you got to do the TikTok thing right now. Well, like, no, you don't. Like, you don't. I could point to 10,000 people literally right now who are not doing the TikTok thing that are successful. So it's like, yes, if TikTok interests you, and if you get excited by that, and you like creating these little videos, and you love the community, and it's really exciting, then sure, make that a goal. That's awesome, beautiful, wonderful. But like, you don't have to. So like, you have to follow your strengths, what interests you, because if you just do what people tell you to do, you're going to try it once, realize you don't like it, give up, or try something else, realize it's not working, then give up. And you're going to try everything a little bit, all 100 things, like take 2 steps, and you're like, nothing works, I give up. It's like, well, yeah, nothing works because you only gave it one try. So you set those concrete goals, 6 month, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and then you know what you're aiming for, and then really work towards them.
You have to definitely choose the best path for you. That being said, we all want to see Ari on TikTok. Can you need to hit the whoa, man.
I'm on TikTok.
No kidding.
Ari's Take, go follow Ari's Take on TikTok. I will something crazy about TikTok. Literally, this is what's nuts about TikTok. And I'll tell you, like, I didn't want anything to do with TikTok, but my 21-year-old operations coordinator, she's like, we should get a TikTok going for Ari's Take. And I'm like, all right, let's try it. And I put up one video, did all right. Our second video, when we had 4 followers, got 100,000 views on TikTok. Our second video, because the crazy algorithm, that's just like how the TikTok algorithm works. And we haven't had a video since with 100,000 views, but like TikTok is crazy when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, you can follow Ari's take on TikTok.
Awesome. Ari, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us this
Yeah,
week.
thanks for having me.
It's always a thrill to chat with you and just hear about the great stuff you do on the creative side of the industry, on the business side of the industry, on the legislative side of the industry. You're terrific. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on again real soon.
Thank you.
All right. That was Ari Hurston, everybody. Now, look, I'm going to say this, guys. All right. I will fight hard to defend the idea that Evan Lamb has the best hair in the music business. But Ari Hurston's gunning for you, man. I mean, that's
I'm happy
quite
to play
a set of
second
locks
fiddle to
on that
that.
guy.
I'm happy to play second fiddle there. That's incredible.
I mean,
As the person who
curls.
does Evan's hair, like, yes. Yeah, I'm 100% okay with this. Yeah.
Game recognized game. How about that?
Yeah,
Fully.
there you go.
Elisa, but before we depart,
Oh, no.
I have here on my list, it just says Jeopardy. And
I mean,
Jeopardy
you don't have to. It's already 9:04.
Oh, but I need to get into this world with you. I've been thinking a lot about the news stories involving Jeopardy and the fact that like they're still trying to find a host, and now Dr. Oz is going to be hosting. The anti-science, like trying to get people to use healing crystals, is going to host like the general knowledge program, and I figure I have to talk to my Jeopardy correspondent here and. Occasional Jeopardy contestant aspirant, Elisa.
Well, no. 24/7 aspirant. 24/7 aspirant. I am part of a private trivia league because I have a Trivial Pursuit tattoo. These are my credentials. I with a doctorate in the social sciences am more qualified to call myself a doctor and give advice than that human being. And am also more qualified to host.
I'm not a doctor, and that guy sucks. Where's the lie?
Well, I've seen the list of people that are set to host this show.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming up soon, and as far as I'm concerned, that man can do whatever he wants.
That's true.
Anderson Cooper, Savannah Guthrie, Mayim
great.
Bialik,
Yeah.
Sanjay Gupta. I don't know why, like, the one person on this list that everybody wants to be on this list is not on this list,
Because everybody wants him to be on this list.
and it's LeVar Burton.
Of course.
Thank you.
Why is it not LeVar Burton?
Because I mean,
They're afraid, Ryan.
no. Well, I would hope that the reason why is because LeVar Burton is the kind of person that you don't have to take LeVar Burton out for a 3-episode spin before, like you
give
just
him the gig.
you just
They don't
you
need to
just give
audition.
him the
LeVar
contract.
Burton
you just
doesn't
roll,
audition.
You roll up the Brinks truck. You say, "Have a look. It's in your checkbook. Here is your paycheck. Host Jeopardy. Thank you." Like this is what you do. Like you don't take him for a twirl. Like
LeVar
hey,
Burton
like
will be damned if you make him show up for a screen test. Who do you
But
people
it's so
think you
perfect,
are?
though, because he taught an entire generation of young kids
Yes.
to read, and now he can teach an entire generation of old kids to read because we didn't pay attention the first time.
thank you.
Well, and that's why LeVar Burton is so perfect, is because the nickname for Alex Trebek was America's teacher. And one of the things that made him so perfect for that role was just his general education advocacy outside of Jeopardy. He was the host of the National Geography Bee. He funded college scholarships to send inner city kids to his alma mater. Like, he did a lot of things to support education generally, and I think that's an important credential if you're going to host this program. And who's done more for education and popular culture than LeVar freaking Reading Rainbow Burton?
Thank you. Like, and that's the thing. Other folks like your Bill Nyes, your Beekmans, like they have their lanes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like fight the good fight against climate change.
That's right.
You can hang out in that lane. You could do that thing.
Bill
And
Nye is
then-
busy.
and make the world a better place. Like do that thing, and then it's like we could get some other way more qualified folks, I think, to host Jeopardy. My schedule's open. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I passed one test.
You passed. You passed a Jeopardy test to be a contestant?
Yes, and I did. And I went to the second round of casting where we did one more mock exam that I summarily failed.
Oh,
and did not make it past that. But that was a really cool, fun experience. It was nice because they opened up the eligibility because of the global pan dulce. We could do it over Zoom, which is nice because I feel like it makes the process more accessible for folks around the country, not folks that are like driving distance to LA or whatever, which is really cool. But yeah, I would love, and also one of the things that I think would be, it's an interesting sort of kind of needle to thread in finding a Jeopardy host is so many people grew up with Alex Trebek as the host, and you have to figure out who is the person that is going to maintain your existing audience, but who is the person that you can pass the torch to that has the recognition from a younger audience, say like folks like us who maybe grew up with Jeopardy and are now, the folks that are like hanging out, being sad we can't own a house and watching Jeopardy and thinking that one day that could be us. We grew up on different stuff, and then there's folks that, for example, get all their signs from folks like Hank Green on YouTube, right? Like I'm sure that was another name that was thrown out there.
That would be good.
I'd be down for Hank Green hosting Jeopardy.
Yeah, or like anybody like a CGP Grey or like any of those sort of like specific YouTube signs. Mark Rober.
Mark
Rober would be super fun. Like all of those. Bobak Fedorowski. What are you doing nowadays? Bring your mohawk. Like bring your mohawk to the set. Like I'm interested in seeing more kind of newer school science folks also added to the mix in order to make sure the show doesn't actually die. Is like my thing, because I love it and it has to stick around so that I can get on it eventually.
Yes.
That's my 5-year goal. Damn.
Well, look, keep in mind that there are some blessings to not getting on Jeopardy. And I've told you guys this story before, but we're going to share it with everybody because I think it's just a really just funny story. Not funny to the guy it happened to, who was a dear friend of mine. So,
great.
But it's a great story. I had an old law school classmate who, notwithstanding anything I'm about to say in this story, is the smartest human being I've ever met. Just off the charts brilliant. Like so brilliant that like when we were in law school, we couldn't get him into the bars because he was like 19 or 20. And so he was too young to get into the bars because he had skipped like 1,000 grades. And I think had also gotten a master's degree before he'd gotten to law school. So
the Doogie Howser type.
Just like super Doogie Howser energy. Just and just all around an amazing human being. He got onto Jeopardy and did not go well for him. And, it happens. But the problem is there is a period of time for when you appear on Jeopardy to when your show airs. And as is often the case with these shows, you have to sign a confidentiality agreement. You cannot tell a soul how you did on the show. Mm-hmm. But we all knew he was on the show. And so people are like, oh, man, we're going to hold a big watch party for you. We're going to have everybody in the law school come watch the show with you. And he's like, great.
Oh, no.
I'm so excited. I can't wait for you.
So what was the dumbest thing he said? What put his head in his hands that day? Like,
I don't remember. I mean, and I think, I thankfully I wasn't one of the people ruining his life because I had graduated a year earlier. So I was just I was like doing this all in an email chain. But like I just watched it. So I watched it at home when it aired. And he just caught some bad breaks. The daily doubles don't go your way or whatever. Yeah. And the people he was going up against were just, like you guys know how Jeopardy is. Like you get categories that don't work for you. The daily doubles break the wrong way. You can have a rough night. And so I'm just saying, Elisa, you could be in a situation where it doesn't work out. And then you just have to kind of put on a brave face for 3 months.
Or she could be Rosie Perez and White Men Can't Jump and just nail it.
Thank you. Puerto Ricans, notoriously good at Jeopardy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
And
I'm
then Evan loses your Jeopardy winnings in a dunk contest. If I'm continuing the
That's
metaphor,
how it goes. The Wesley Snipes. It was weird.
works. I'm personally interested in I Jeopardy contestant, cool. I'm not entirely sure that I would actually be a good person to have on the show because I can't curse on television the same way that I do at home when I get it wrong. That would not work out. What I would love though is, I mean, if they're considering refreshes on the Clue Crew,
you would be really good for the Clue Crew. That
I'm
is
just
a
saying,
fit.
I wanna travel around and get like super excited about learning about stuff and just talking trivia to a camera like in front of like cool animals or something. That sounds amazing.
You want to get paid to travel to exotic locations all around the world
And
to
learn
film a
stuff.
15-second video question.
And learn things. I get to know all the answers to everything. That sounds awesome to me.
Absolutely.
I have a Trivial Pursuit tattoo. I have a
do?
problem. I have a very serious problem.
Is that one of the tattoos we can see, or is it at in a place where we can't?
No,
because this is a
I'm
family
gonna hold
show?
on to that one.
Because you have different tattoos in different places, and I can't remember where they are anymore.
Look, it's not too revealing, but that one's the most for me. How about that?
Oh, this is great.
goodness.
Thanks to I'm not entirely sure if that was what Evan said or maybe something earlier, that we got not only a thumbs up emoji on the Facebook stream, but we have a couple of a open mouth surprised face.
Yes,
React
mouth agape
emojis.
emoji. Yeah,
So,
that means we had ourselves quite a show. Our thanks to Ari Hurston for joining us. My thanks to you guys. Love y'all very much. This has been an absolute treat. And I should mention next week our guest. Oh, forgive me for not tossing this out there. Next week our guest, Jason Charles Miller. He is a musician. He's a Twitch streamer. So we kind of build off the conversation we had with Ari just now about Twitch streaming. And he's like Elisa, a video game voiceover artist. So think of the war stories we're going to get to trade next week. That's pretty fantastic. Adventures in the Booth with Elisa and Jason Charles Miller. That's all coming up next week. Thank you all for watching Break the Business. We'll see you next week.